Clear.
Check, check, check.
Check. Check. This one. Check, check, fact check.
प्लेट है मैं किधर बैठूं सामने बैठूं कुछ चलेगा
A very good morning to Director Father Fernandez, members of our core team, PTA Chairperson Ms. Tina Faria, members of the PTA, teachers, students and all the 10 student speakers.
Welcome to Don Bosco International School's first TEDx student talk.
TED originated in 1984 as a gathering that brought together like-minded individuals who were keen on sharing their inspiring ideas, passions, and was a culmination of creative minds.
Over time, it has evolved into a diverse range of global communities and initiatives delving into various subjects such as science, business, education, arts and global issues.
TED, TED's educational initiative for youth, is dedicated to inspiring and encouraging the sharing of ideas and knowledge among teachers and students globally.
The TED Clubs program assists students in uncovering, investigating, delving into, and delivering their significant ideas through concise TED-style talks.
Over the last few months, we have been learning, experimenting, and developing key skills in regards to presentation and public speaking as part of our TED Club.
This process involved analyzing, providing constructive feedback, and engaging in peer discussion activities as part of our curriculum.
I would now like to invite our Reverend Director, Father Ajoy Fernandez, to address the gathering.
I can't figure out who's sitting in the audience, but I guess all the coordinators are here. The coordinators, teachers, students, and your parents. I'm really privileged to be present for this TED presentation of our students. I understand that it is the initiative of a student of DBIS. It's a pilot project, the very first of its kind. Again, it has been led and guided by all the students to pick up topics that they are passionate about, that they can use to inspire and guide others. I think this very process of preparation for these talks has been a great learning experience. I just glanced through some of the topics. They include everything from art, aesthetics, a little bit of literature in different forms, science, technology, sports, as well as sports, personal development, everything in between and everything beyond. I wish the 21 speakers a really great time, and I'm sure all of us will be a supportive audience to cherish as well as appreciate all their efforts to come forward and make their first TED presentation at DBIS. Thank you and have a great day.
क्लियर आएगा ना म्हणजे तुम्ही नका पब्लिककडे त्यांच्याकडेच ठेवा पब्लिक नको.
Thank you, Father Joy. It is always a pleasure to learn from your valuable insight and perspective.
Before we begin with our speakers, requesting parents to please keep your phones on silent and not to use any flash photography as it may disturb the speakers. We have a photographer and videographer present to record all talks. We request the members of the audience to maintain decorum, remain silent, and stay seated during the course of the talks, as each talk needs to be recorded. We will now be commencing with our TED speakers, starting with Jemima D'Souza from grade 9.
Watching a few shows and episodes and preparing for this TED Talk has led me to the realization of how important media is to society and how big of an impact it creates. For example, the Rachel Green haircut played an extremely important role in influencing the trend in hairstyles back in the 90s. For me, the iconic denim on denim look and flannels were quite intriguing growing up watching Disney shows. But these tiny aspects led me to wonder, what about the bigger topics discussed in plot lines? What about the topics that affected people mentally and internally? I, Jemima D'Souza, with this TED Talk, will be aiming to highlight and discuss how the ideas that media portrays are consequently internalized by us, the audience. When you think about media, you would probably think of social media. But throughout this talk, I will not only be mentioning social media, but also media such as print and television for news, magazines, TV shows, and other forms of entertainment. I would like you to reflect on this word, biopower. What is biopower? Biopower is a term used to refer to power that is exercised through a series of technologies upon the life of a population with the aim of controlling and monitoring them. Hence, we can see how media is used in this context in order to put forth and reinforce certain stereotypes, while at the same time constructing ideal types that the masses then tend to follow and idealize. The media uses this in order to set a standard considered to be normal. This normal is thus the benchmark of what each individual must achieve in order to be deemed normal by society. It overlooks the individuality of human life, the uniqueness and distinctiveness that adds to one's personhood and character. We are all essentially striving to be the same, to be a part of something, to not be left out. It is an inherent human need to fit in and an inherent human fear to stand out. The media employs this fear and need, thus constructing biopower. A simple example could be social media and its unrealistic beauty standards convincing people to further adjust and edit their pictures by using filters in order to achieve the ideal look or the ideal body type. Social media can ultimately create a false sense of reality, lulling us into insecurity. The definition of an ideal body on social media could be a portrayal of a beloved character, Monica Geller, on the sitcom Friends. As we understand, throughout the show, we get flashbacks of the so-called Fat Monica, and being a 90s sitcom, this version of Monica got the most laughs in terms of weight. Knowingly or unknowingly, this could have had and still be having a huge impact on women today considering their weight, making them believe that being above the ideal weight would elicit jokes and comments on them, making them feel insecure. Racial stereotypes are also heavily developed throughout TV shows and movies by using mainly white characters and sprinkling a few other races. Have you ever thought about the fact about how media defines a diverse couple as per se, an Asian and an American, or an African and an American? I find it quite weird that all these diverse couples tend to contain an American. Why for once can't it be an Asian and an African? By seeing these representations on media, people unconsciously start implementing these small aspects into their lives, therefore circling us back to the term biopower. On a positive note, a good example of biopower would be Modern Family, the American sitcom that represents very real and unique narratives and characters of people coming from different communities and cultures. Over time, even though biopower might continue to exist, I do hope that these stereotypes of gender, race, and the representation of body image on media are taken account for, slowly making our world more diverse and unique. I would like to end with a quote by Emma Stone. What sets you apart can sometimes feel like a burden, and it's not. And a lot of the times, it's what makes you great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jemima. Moving on, we have Aditya Faria from grade 9.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow enthusiasts of both the sporting and non-sporting world. Let's embark on a journey together, a journey towards scoring the perfect life, one goal at a time. As my favorite athlete, Cristiano Ronaldo, once said, dreams are not what you see in your sleep. Dreams are things which do not let you sleep. I stand before you today, not just as a speaker, but as a student athlete who has learned invaluable lessons about life, winning and losing, and the delicate art of balance. As we venture into the profound impact that sports can wield on our lives, could you, my amazing audience, please raise your hands if you have ever had a moment where you have felt the weight of expectations and pressure? If you look around this room, you will realize that many people have had one such moment. We receive pressure and expectation from various different places, but it's especially from those people who care about us and want to see us succeed. Let's talk about pressure. What is pressure? Well, pressure can have different meanings. In physics, pressure is the force per unit area. Pressure can also be a state of compression. But the pressure that I am talking about is the stress that we all feel when we're expected to do well or perform with specific results in a certain task. Pressure can be suffocating, I agree, but I decide to view pressure in a different light. I feel pressure is a privilege, a testament to the great expectations that are placed upon you. We should all use pressure as a fuel for motivation and not downfall. I remember a young version of myself darting around the house with a ball at my feet, when suddenly, boom, I was standing near a sheltered vase and persuading my mom that it wasn't me, but the wind who had done it. Well, these were the early moments that encouraged my parents to persuade me to take up football. This unexpectedly set the stage for a journey that would soon turn into my sanctuary. I personally balance my sports, academics, and other aspects of life by using one of the most underrated values in this earth, time management. I schedule my day, or sometimes even a week, and adhere to this schedule. This helps me to achieve all the small goals that I set for myself. The pursuit of perfection in both areas of my life often left me feeling overwhelmed. I'm sure many of you in this audience have also felt the weight of expectations from family, teachers, parents, and coaches. But you can also face expectations from your own aspirations. Well, I want to tell you all one thing. Perfection ultimately, this is what leads to improvement. As you can see, there is an equation on the screen. This is an equation which is very often used in the corporate world. It shows how small consistent efforts over a long period of time can lead to a drastic improvement and sometimes even success. Let's talk numbers for a moment. Did you know that according to the NCAA, student athletes have higher graduation rates and GPAs than their non-athlete peers? This is because the cognitive skills and mental skills of the brain increase while playing sport. This in turn allows athletes to excel in academics too. Now, let's talk about a core aspect of both life and football. Teamwork. Winning in football is a team effort. You cannot win alone. Similarly, having a team behind you in both the classroom and on the field can be the difference that you need. A study conducted by Eagle Hill, which is a top consulting firm in the USA, shows that 83% of team sport athletes are top runners in their workplace. The CEO has also stated that business isn't a game, but a team sport. Now, picture this, a final in a national tournament. We are losing 1-0, and despite all our best efforts, we lost. This was the story of a final we played. Well, that loss taught us the crucial lesson of resilience. We faced that loss, although it was challenging, but we bounced back up and we won the next tournament that we played in. As athletes, we faced losses, setbacks, and even injuries. But these challenges teach us how to get back up, dust ourselves off, and keep going. Discipline. This is the bridge between goals and achievements. It is the bedrock of success, both in sport and in life. Athletes who embrace discipline understand the importance of consistent effort, adhering to rigorous schedules, and even constantly trying to find a balance that works for them. In conclusion, I feel sports is more than just a game for me. Sports is a metaphor for life itself. It has taught me invaluable lessons such as accepting failure with dignity, hard work, teamwork, time management, and perseverance. It has also helped me to achieve multiple laurels in my life, both on the field and off the field. It has helped me to achieve academic excellence and also a leadership role in my very own school council. I would like to invite each one of you sitting here today to embrace sports and use it as a key to your holistic success and improvement. Remember, it's not about scoring the perfect life with one big goal. It's about the journey and the countless small goals that lead us to success. So let us all together score the perfect life, one goal at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. Moving on, we have Steve D'Souza from grade 9.
Passion. What is it and how does it define oneself? It is an emotion. It's a feeling one gets from doing something they love. Passion is what drives the human heart forward. It gives us a sense of identity and makes us unique. Passion dictates our lives, and without it, we would be empty within, for we would have no soul. It makes us believe in what we believe and do what we do. For example, me. My passions are cars, racing, or anything fast in general. And hence it dictates my likes, preferences, hobbies, and in a larger sense, my purpose and place in this world. Although I am still clueless. We normally think from our minds and not our hearts. I think that's a given. But there are cracks within our logic, cracks within our mind, and the seeds of emotion, in this case passion, seep through these cracks and bloom, as the human heart is more powerful than the mind. Because why would you do anything if you don't love to do it? Why would you become the best version of yourself if your heart doesn't tell you to? The power passion has can make someone drastically improve themselves, can push one to their limits by motivating them to try their best to excel at their hobbies. Because if you love to do something, it's only natural that you do it more often. What is one's passion? It's a feeling, but feelings change. So you might find your old hobbies boring and take interests in new ones. Finding something you're affectionate about is easy, but implementing is hard. Take music for example. I more or less play the piano, and when I started, I was horrible. But as time progressed, I slowly became better. To be good at something, or in my case, decent at best, you're gonna have to be bad at it. But that's okay, as passion fuels determination, and the effect of determination is improvement. Another passion I have is cars, but it's not something I can literally work on, like the piano. It's more of an interest rather than a hobby, a different kind of passion perhaps. The best I can do here is watch as a cool car passes by, but it still drives feelings within me, like when I was at the Bosco or at the Mercedes museums. To most people over there, it was just a building full of transport. But to me, it was different. To me, it was special. It somehow connected with me. I cannot reason as to how, as even though feelings don't completely ignore logic, they can still override it. I believe passion and love can create dreams. They create dreams where you live the life you want. Everybody has an ideal life, but they're as close as possible to the things they love. Passion dictates our lives through these dreams. Once a dreamer, you're always a dreamer, as there is no limitations to what the human mind can imagine. But sometimes we imagine too far. Sometimes we overestimate ourselves, and sometimes we fail. Sometimes even though we love something, we fail to achieve it. Like if you were to fail your dreams, fail to reach the place where you wanted to be or hope to be, would you be wrong to dream that far? Would you be wrong to set a point, to aim further than your horizon? You wouldn't. Because it's okay to dream further than you can see. Because when you love something, when you're passionate about something, your horizon expands. And that point you set, even though it hasn't moved at all, it would seem a lot closer than before. And that is the power of passion. Passion is just more than love for something, because of the power it holds. It can make someone improve themselves, to search something special within everyday objects. It is a feeling, and this feeling is the cause of determination, love, and happiness. And just as all feelings, it changes. Change is inevitable, but only what we are passionate about changes. There is no loss of this feeling. We might feel that way, but that only means we haven't found what we are truly passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Moving on, we have Anish Joshi from grade 9.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this talk on a topic that has perplexed and fascinated humanity for centuries: beauty. What is beauty, and why does it have such a powerful hold on our minds and our hearts? Today, we embark on a journey that redefines the meaning of beauty and challenges our preconceived notions of what it truly means. Let's first start by acknowledging the extraordinary diversity of beauty in our world. From the breathtaking landscapes that paint our planet, the kaleidoscope of colors and cultures and faces that make our human families. Beauty is not a single static concept, it's a symphony of colors, shapes, and forms, where each note is essential to the composition of our world. Imagine a world where every flower looked the same and every face had identical features. Such a world would be truly devoid of the beauty that emerges from diversity. This beauty and diversity go hand in hand to weaving a rich tapestry that decorates society. And it's time we celebrate our differences rather than try to conform to a narrow standard. While aesthetics had often led us to believe that beauty was just skin deep, it's more than that. Beauty transcends the surface. It resides within us, waiting to be discovered and shared with the world. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most beautiful. They're hardly ever associated with your outer appearance alone. It's the laughter, love, and joy we give and receive during these special moments that makes them so memorable. So what if we changed our perspective of beauty and realized that the true marks of beauty are qualities like resilience, empathy, and love? What if we shifted our perspective to understand that beauty is more than skin deep? Imperfection is beauty. While perfection is what we often strive for, we find ourselves working towards perfection, although it's a mirage, something that eludes our grasp. And we do believe that imperfection is not beautiful, but it is. It's the cracks in a city streets that make it beautiful. It's the quirks in a person's smile that makes it unforgettable. And it's the flaws in art that give it so much character. So beauty has the power to connect us across generations, cultures, and time. Beauty is a common ground, a bridge for all of us, where we can appreciate the wonders of our existence. Beauty truly is something wonderful. So, to conclude, beauty is not a single, one-dimensional concept. It's multifaceted and an ever-evolving force that surrounds us, yet it resides within us. So let's use the power of beauty to our advantage. Thank you.
Thank you, Anish. Moving on, we have Trisha Amin from grade 9.
Good morning everyone, I am Trisha Amin and today I'll be talking about something that many of us teenagers face, directly or indirectly. Have you ever felt like you're not good enough, smart enough, or cool enough? Well, let me tell you, you're not alone. Many of us go through these feelings and today I'll be talking about how and why society plays a big role in making us feel this way. I'll start by talking about one of the biggest ways society contributes to teenage insecurities, which is by promoting unrealistic standards of perfection, or as we call it, beauty standards. We often see images of people in magazines, on TV, and in movies where they look a certain way. Usually, they're super skinny with perfect skin and they seem to have it all. But guess what? Most of us don't look like that and it's totally okay not to. But when society constantly bombards us with these unrealistic beauty ideals, they can make us feel like we're not good enough just as we are. This can take a huge toll on our self-esteem and lead the body dysmorphia. Next up, we have social media. Now, while social media can be great for connecting with friends and family, it's also a breeding ground for insecurities. Teens compare their lives to the perfectly curated posts of others. We often see perfectly filtered photos, exciting outings, and numerous accomplishments, which tend to make us feel inadequate, or this one very popular term, FOMO. Now, well, I'm sure most of you must have heard about it and even felt it more than once, but for those of you that have not, FOMO is the fear of missing out. It is the emotional response of the belief that others are living a more exciting and fulfilling life than you are. FOMO often leads to feelings of unease, dissatisfaction, depression, and stress. Now, let's discuss peer pressure. We all want to fit in, right? But peer pressure, sometimes trying to fit in, can make us do things we're not comfortable with. Bullying and peer pressure are one of the most common ways society contributes to teenage insecurities. The fear of constantly being excluded, judged, and ridiculed can lead young minds to hide their true selves and engage in behaviors they aren't comfortable with. All this just to fit in. Lastly, let's talk about labels and stereotypes. Society often divides people into boxes based on their genders, race, and other characteristics, which can often make us feel like we have to act a certain way or be dressed a certain way to fit in. But I feel like we should be free to be ourselves and not what others expect us to be. In conclusion, don't be afraid to seek help. If you're dealing with insecurities, talking to a trusted friend, an adult, or a counselor can make a huge difference. Together, let's make a more inclusive and accepting society where everybody feels equally valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Trisha. Moving on, we have Naisha Sheikh from grade 10.
Emotions are the vibrant colors that paint the canvases of our lives. Today I invite you to set out on a journey with me to embrace, understand, and explore the emotions that make us capable of the level of our achievements. This talk is about the feelings we shove in a box and lock it. The term masterpieces indicates self-growth and improvement that develops an individual. If there is a way where you can use your negative emotions to your strengths, why should any other option even be considered? I will be highlighting two of the strongest emotions endured by humans and how to make them into your strengths and manipulate yourself into using them as your advantage. Anger. An aggressive word, isn't it? Reminds us of temper, resentment, and hostility. It is a complex and multifaceted emotional response characterized by heightened arousal which typically arises in perceived threats, obstacles, or injustices to one's well-being. It plays a fundamental role in human psychology, serving as a signal to address challenges, assert boundaries, and seek resolutions to conflicts. We can all relate to this as teenagers as we come across conflicting perspectives that we aren't prepared to react to. What if we change our perception of anger to manipulate ourselves into harnessing its negativity? Do you all think it will perform positively? Our conditioned neurological responses are caused by cues that trigger a specific response. Changing the pattern and response of our instinctive thoughts is what I aim to teach today's audience about. A new mindset will help you discover the benefits of your weakness, which will help you towards achieving your masterpieces rather than getting sucked by your weaknesses. Anger motivates us to detect threats and sharpens our focus. It is associated with what's called the approach-related motivation. Anger activates the left anterior cortex of the brain, which is associated with positive approach behaviors and drives us to defend ourselves. Thus, anger can potentially provide you with the energy that is necessary to take action towards achieving your goals or to correct difficult situations. Anger propels us to use our individual power to get exactly what we need. The Harvard researcher Dr. Jennifer Lerner, who studies emotion and decision theory, found in one study that anger and risk assessment were associated with optimism and risk aversion, whereas fear was associated with pessimism and risk aversion. If we begin to twist our emotions and harness them into achieving our personal goals and aspirations, rather than tackling them with guilt, despair, and desolation, don't you think we'd be paving a better path for our future and constructing our mindset to achieve all our goals? The second emotion I'll be focusing on is sadness. Sadness is triggered by loss, disappointment, or unfavorable circumstances. Sadness serves as a reminder of empathy, reflection, and emotional well-being, but is unfortunately perceived as a self-demotivating and self-destructive emotional response if not approached with the right mindset. It is, rather than dwelling over these feelings cynically, you could take control of their influence on you, harness them, and tackle them with the strong individual that you are. Joseph Fergus is a professor of psychology at the University of New South Wales and has a series on experiments on emotion studies published in the Greater Good magazine. We see time and again that when people are happy, they are more likely to make social misjudgments based on their biases. One of his studies asked happy or sad people where to detect perception and if whether how they approach difficult situations. It showed that happier people would be less motivated because they are already satisfied with the situation they are in, whereas sad people would push themselves towards getting out of their situation and changing their efforts towards achieving their goals. In conclusion, each of the contradictory views they made on harnessing your emotions to create masterpieces of your own has been collected after multiple tests on humans per theory. I truly believe that children need to be taught from a young age how to approach that negative emotion positively to build as a conditional neurological response to tougher situations in the future. And everyone must try to change their pattern of reactions to build a habit to stimulate a healthy mindset that will help them grow towards their masterpieces rather than rebel from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Naisha. Moving on, we have Kian Mehta from grade 9.
Let's set the scene. Rome, 180 AD. A young emperor, selfish and arrogant. A tortured gladiator, strong and resolute despite his fall from grace. The emperor crosses the arena, stepping over gore and viscera scattered on hot sands, and asks the gladiator his name, only for him to turn away. How dare you show your back to me? Slave, you will remove your helmet and tell me your name. The gladiator pauses, takes a deep breath, and taking off his helmet, turns around to face the emperor. My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the north, general of the Felix legions, loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. The music builds, the tension mounts, the barely noticeable quiver in his lip. He continues, Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. And see, that was Ridley Scott's masterpiece, Gladiator. What you felt there is the true power of cinema. Everyone loves a good movie. It fills us with creativity and inspiration. A good movie motivates us, makes us spring into action. At the same time, it releases cortisol and dopamine in the brain, reducing stress and anxiety. Everyone loves a good movie. But every so often, we watch a film that stays with us, whether it be for weeks, months, even years. It caresses the viewer's heart in its intimate moments, toys with it during suspenseful silences, and grabs hold of it during the climax. These amazing movies touch our lives, influencing how we dress, how we wear our hair, our manner of speaking. People come together over great movies. They bond, they find their tribe. Making a great movie is a balancing act. If one component is not power with another, the entire movie suffers. And so, without using any French theatrical jargon like mise en scène, I'd like to go over what makes a movie great. There are 7 basic components in any film. They're here on your screen. I'm going to go over them one by one. The plot dictates the script. Good movie. And the script includes dialogue. But dialogue is just words on a page until the actor brings them to life with their performance. I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Vito Corleone in The Godfather, instantly recognizable. The second component, cinematography, includes everything from camera movement to lighting and filters. Cinematography is visual storytelling. It conveys the emotion of each scene. direction is especially important in a movie. The director is responsible for overseeing the entire process of filmmaking, from visualizing the story to making artistic choices to realize that vision. Some phenomenal directors behind some of my favorite movies are Quentin Tarantino, Peter Jackson, Martin Scorsese. Now let's move on to what I consider the most important part of a film: characters and casting. Good casting makes a movie more believable. And there are many examples of perfect casting in cinema. I'm going to go over 3. Heath Ledger as the Joker, Ian McKellen as Gandalf, and Sylvester Stallone as Rocky. Phenomenal performances, am I right? Finally, the next 2 components, sound, music, and sets and props, work hand in hand. They make the world the movie is set in come alive. It makes them feel lived in. Mistakes in these departments can often be catastrophic, but it's the little details, like a group of people talking in the background, or half-eaten food and drinks in the tables, that make the scene really come to life. It spices up the scene. And I know this isn't a movie, but I thought it was worth a mention anyway. We all remember the Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones. Funny for all the wrong reasons, wasn't it? Lastly, we have editing and post-production. Strategic editing maintains or alters the pace and continuity of a film. An action movie like Deadpool moves briskly with frenetic action, while 2001, Space Odyssey, moves slowly, more deliberately, with thought-provoking shots. Now, I'd like to go over a trilogy, which I consider great, and it's actually one of my all-time favorites, The Lord of the Rings. Based on J.R.R. Tolkien's literary works, The Lord of the Rings features beautiful cinematography that perfectly fits its epic tone. With Peter Jackson at the helm, his actors had skilled guidance, and the movies remained faithful to their source material. Every single actor was perfectly cast and played their role as if it was second nature. The Oscar-winning soundtrack, carefully crafted sets and props, and deliberate editing and post-production ensures that the thrill of the epic saga is upheld in every single scene. Now, a quick show of hands from the audience. Who here thinks that the Hobbit movies are better than the Lord of the Rings movies? Okay, I see one. I'm sorry guys, I can't see too much, but I'm assuming there's very few of you. And I'm not surprised. The same author, the same director, and set in the same universe. But the Hobbit trilogy is good, not great. Coming away from this talk, I hope you've gained a newfound respect for the challenges in cinema, and that you can better understand and enjoy the films that you will watch in the future. In the words of Gandalf the White, farewell, my brave hobbits. My work is now finished. Here at last, on the shores of the sea, comes the end of our fellowship. And also my TED Talk. Thank you all. It's been a wonderful audience.
Thank you, Kian. Moving on, we have Ashna Shah from grade 10.
The secret is the law of manifestation. Everything that's coming into your life, you are attracting into your life. Whatever is going on in your mind is getting attracted to you. Every thought of yours is a force. Have you ever wondered why people who acquired massive wealth suddenly just lost it all? What happened in their case, whether they knew it or not, is that their dominant thoughts were on wealth, which is how they acquired it in the first instance. Then, they allowed the fearful thoughts of losing all that wealth to enter their minds until those fearful thoughts became their dominant thoughts. They tipped the scales from thinking thoughts of wealth to thinking thoughts of loss, and so they lost it all. For the longest time, I used the law of manifestation by drawing small rupee symbols at the back of my notebook and setting my phone wallpaper as money to attract what I desire. Tom Holland is a firm believer in the power of manifestation, and he used this law to manifest his incredible career. Let's start with his role as Spider-Man. In a 2013 red carpet interview, Tom said that if he were to play a superhero, it would be Spider-Man. 4 years later, Tom landed the role of Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War. He then manifested the next part of his career into starring in a movie adaptation of his favorite video game, Uncharted. And finally, probably the most magical of all, was his manifestation into winning the girl of his dreams, Zendaya. Tom has used the law of manifestation to manifest the biggest blockbusters of his career. All I ask is that he teach me his ways too. Let me give you another example of manifestation that I'm pretty sure everyone listening to this can relate to. Have you ever thought about something you were not happy about, and the more you thought about it, the worse the situation seemed? This is because as you think of one sustained thought, the law of manifestation immediately brings more thoughts to you. And in a matter of minutes, you've gotten so many unpleasant and unhappy thoughts that the situation only seems to be getting worse. And the more you think about it, the more upset you get. The law of manifestation simply responds to your thoughts. So if you're looking at a mountain of debt, feeling terrible and helpless about it, that's the signal you're putting out into the universe, and that's what you're going to get more of. Research conducted by Dr. Carol Dweck shows that believing you can do something makes it more likely that you'll successfully do it. That means that our beliefs and our ability to learn, grow, and succeed can indeed affect whether we effectively manifest what we desire. Now I know this is one thing that all of you are going to hate to hear, and you're immediately going to say, I didn't attract bad marks, I didn't particularly attract the death, I didn't attract a broken leg. Yes, you did possibly attract it. Manifestation and effort go hand in hand, and the blame is not completely on what you manifest, but on the effort you put in to achieve it. With both manifestation and effort, you can transform your dreams into a tangible reality. At the end of it, your life is in your hands. No matter where you are now, no matter what has happened in your life, you can begin to consciously choose your thoughts, and you can change your life. There is no such thing as a hopeless situation. Every single circumstance of your life can change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashna. Moving on, we have Prisha Panchamia from grade 10. Oprah Winfrey has greatly quoted, "Passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you." But what is passion? Something one likes to do? Definitely. But this 7-letter word has a much deeper essence to it than its generic dictionary meaning. Aerial is a blend of dance and gymnastics, and over the years it has become my passion. Today I'm going to talk about how finding that one passion of yours can make you feel self-motivated. First and foremost, you have unstoppable interest for it, which means it can never get boring for you. I've been doing aerial for almost 6 years now, and amidst this period, a lot of breaks of computer studies. But that never made me feel like discontinuing. So there's our first checkbox. Your interest for what you like should never die. Secondly, you should be ready to spend how much of your time on it. Yes, I agree, sometimes you may have other priorities on the list, and your passion may not always be your top priority. Trust me, that's completely fine. But yes, it's equally important to spare time out of your busiest of schedules for at least half an hour to 1 hour, if not long. During my summative exams, I always face this problem when I eventually end up with a 3-week-long break, and hence, I try my best to go for at least 1 hour a week. Which brings me to my third point. Your passion must be self-driven in such a way that very little external support is needed. All the activation energy should come from within. As a kid, I used to be very flexible, and hence I was forced to do gymnastics. Eventually, I stopped as I found out about aerial.
which is really interesting, and today the tables have turned. Now my mother is reluctant to send me for aerial as she thinks I might injure myself at a young age. So that's our third checkbox. If it is your true passion, others' opinions on it won't bother you. Moreover, they'll inspire you to do even better. There should always be self-learning. Be in competition with yourself. In February, I resumed aerial after a short break. And a new drop, the starfall, was part of our routine. Everyone in the advanced group had already learned it when I was away for those 2 to 3 months. I kept struggling with it. I kept trying and trying and trying. Eventually, with deep determination within myself, I finally aced it within a month period, which others usually took a little longer, I'd say, to get a knack of. This made me realize that if I do anything with this level of firmness, I can reach great heights in no time. Which brings me to my next point. You should always be deeply satisfied. Whenever I'm in aerial, for that sometime, I forget about almost everything. It includes checking my phone as well. And honestly, when I'm on the silk, that feeling is really good. It feels like I'm flying above all. And trust me, nothing beats that for me. But yes, it's important to remember that you don't neglect other activities under the name of this. Because as I said earlier also, in order to achieve what you like, it's important to prioritize. Which gets me to my sixth point. You should never feel empty. There should be no sense of regret, like I would have rather spent time chilling with my friend. Well, today I'm going to talk about how in aerial, whenever I'm in aerial, I return home charged and energized. Personally, being someone who cannot stand monotony, I need that circuit breaker from the daily loop of activities. Aerial has become an exception. Lastly, pain should be part of your passion. Yes, pain should be pleasure for you. Earlier, when I started aerial newly, I used to return home with my legs paining a lot. And days it didn't, it felt so relieving. But today, if I return home without a pain in my ankle or my back paining, it feels I haven't done enough for the day. I have accepted pain as part of my passion. Based on the survey I collected to find whether hobbies and passion are actually differentiated by people and what do people define their passion as, I can clearly conclude that passion is commonly defined as a positive feeling repelling laziness. About 45% of the people consider their passion as their hobby, but only 20% of which could pursue it further. During the tender shift from a child to a sensitive adolescent, hobbies have taken shifts too. From those basic skills of singing and dancing we're expected to learn as kids, it has now become listening to music. About 70% of the people consider their hobby as listening to music, which cannot be pursued as a passion, am I right? Additionally, about 89% of the adults above the age of 25 have lost their passion because of family building pressures. Now go back and think of what you call your passion, as this is the actual spectrum of the passion. These are the 7 colors of the spectrum of the passion that you have in you. I would like to conclude by saying, I have found my passion at the age of 15. You can find it at 25 or 50. After all, age is just a number. Because when your passion and purpose are greater than your fears, your excuses will find a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Prisha. Moving on, we have Navan Vijay Barkia from grade 9.
Ladies and gentlemen, and fellow basketball enthusiasts, thank you for joining me today. I want to take you on a journey to the world of basketball, a journey that transcends the boundaries of the court and delves into the heart of human perseverance. Today, I'm here to discuss a topic that lies at the very core of basketball and life itself, embracing failure. Let's begin with the air ball, the moment every basketball player dreads. A missed shot so embarrassingly off target that it seems to defy the laws of physics. The crowd falls silent, teammates exchange glances, and you're left with a sinking feeling in your chest. Failure is a universal experience. In fact, it's a fundamental part of being human. We all stumble and fall, make mistakes, and come up short at some point in our lives. But what sets successful individuals apart is how they respond to failure. Consider the wisdom of Michael Jordan, often regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time. He once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career, lost almost 300 games, and 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and miss." Resilience is the cornerstone of embracing failure. A missed shot should not define you. Your response to it should. The great Kobe Bryant once said, "I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something. But I can't accept not trying." Basketball teaches us to persevere, to keep pushing forward, no matter how many times we stumble. Embracing failure also involves adopting a growth mindset. Instead of seeing failure as a dead end, view it as a detour on the road to success. The concept growth mindset, popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, is about believing that your abilities and intelligence can be developed by effort, learning, and persistence. The legendary coach John Wooden once said, "Failure is not fatal, but failure to change might be." When you approach failure with a growth mindset, every setback becomes an opportunity to learn, adapt, and ultimately succeed. Basketball is a team sport, and that means embracing failure together. Missed pass, a botched play, it happens to the best teams in the world. But successful teams don't dwell on individual mistakes. They come together and overcome them. Consider the bad boys era of the Detroit Pistons in the late 1980s and early 1990s. This team was led by players such as Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer. This team had a lot of criticism, and they even earned the moniker Dirty Pistons for their tactics. They didn't let the criticism deter them, but they embraced their identity and used it to their advantage, winning 2 NBA championships in the process. Their individual perceived failures turned into successes by working as a cohesive unit. Now let's go to alley-oops. These gravity-defying plays are a testament to teamwork and magic when players trust each other. But make no mistake, alley-oops don't happen overnight. They are results of countless failures, missed connections, turnovers, and missed opportunities. Let's take the story of Dirk Nowitzki, a player known for his shooting and scoring ability. This player, in his early years of his career, faced a lot of criticism for not being able to carry his team to an NBA championship. He faced failures and setbacks in the playoffs. In spite of the criticism, he worked towards his goal and continued developing his skills. In 2011, Dirk and the Dallas Mavericks won the NBA championship, and Dirk was named the Finals MVP. His journey from failure to success is a testament that the power of greatness and that the power of embracing failure is a path to greatness. Something about me, I was playing in an NBA junior tournament, and we were playing in the quarterfinals against the best team in Mumbai. Yeah, I had slight confidence to win the match, but I knew it wasn't going to be easy at all. The game starts and our team was all here and there, and we just weren't focused because the opponents were just playing on another level. End of the game, we lose 6-1. I was absolutely devastated and infuriated. The opponent coach gave me some advice about my game style and also mentioned that the opponent team that we played against gives 18 hours a week to this sport. It was then when I realized, without dedication to something you love endlessly and want to achieve professionally, will not just happen if you lay around. Every time you fail, there is something you learn. It's about how you put the something you learned into your next play, and that is practically a success. In closing, whether you're on the court or you're navigating the challenges of life, remember this: airballs to alley-oops. Embracing failure is a pathway to excellence. It's not about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning from them. So next time you see yourself facing failure, don't shy away from it. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it propel you to new heights. Thank you.
Welcome back to our TED Student Talks. We're now starting with the second session. Students of grade 12 will now be presenting their talks.
Before we begin with our speakers, requesting parents to please keep your phones on silent and not to use any flash photography as it may disturb the speaker. We have a photographer and videographer present to record all talks. We request the members of the audience to maintain decorum, remain silent and stay seated during the course of each talk as they need to get recorded.
Our first speaker for the second session will be Karthik Bhatia.
Good morning. Before we start, let me set the scene. A 7-year-old on a Sunday afternoon, angry at his useless and torturous math homework. This was me. Now, some of my anger may have been attributed to me leaving my homework to the very last minute, but it was only increased by my math homework being so useless. Why was I buying 30 watermelons, and why on earth was I giving 20 of them to my friends? Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever had these questions, but I do hope I can be one of the last. I'm here to make the case that maths can be useful and fun if we look at it in the right way. Now, the largest critics of math online always tweet and comment about how they never used Pythagoras' theorem or the line equation in their life. Now, under this veil of humor, disguised under this veil of humor, is a really troubling fact. People really do think that maths is useless. I'd like to offer an explanation for that. Our schools focus on the wrong thing when it comes to maths. Our schools focus on the formulae, the terminology, and just grinding sums upon sums. And that's why today all of us remember a square plus b square is equal to c square, and how annoying the quadratic formula is. But, sure, most of you may never have to calculate an hypotenuse length in your entire life. But you do know that the diagonal is greater than is smaller than the sum of the other two sides. And we use that fact unconsciously, like when we walk. Now, maybe we can connect this ill-begotten idea of maths by bringing up a concept without the tricky terminology. And that's what I want to try doing today. In the process, I want to make maths a little fun as well. And these are two words, unfortunately, which for many people are oxymoronic. So let's start with something that everyone enjoys. Magic. With that, I'd like to call a volunteer from the audience. I think I see a hand from the parents. Priyanka auntie, please come to the stage. Can you just have a round of applause for her, please? Thank you. Perfect. So over here you see a regular deck of cards. Just inspect the deck, tell everyone it's normal, and then pick out 9 random cards for me. Any 9 random cards.
Okay, all are normal.
Perfect. Just pick up 9 random cards from that and put them in 3 piles of 3.
I don't have to see it.
No. Great. So we'll just put the rest of the cards to the side and bring the 3 piles forward. Now pick a random pile. Pick a random.
From this?
Yes, and pick it up in your hands. Okay, perfect. So now just do one thing and place your card over here on top of these cards, and these cards go on top here. Now these are in random order, and at this point I want to get one more volunteer from the audience. Do I see Aditya's hand rising up?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Right, so Adi, could you just name a random card, any random card that you want?
5 of hearts.
5 of hearts, perfect. So we'll just spell that out, I-V-E 5 O-F of H-E-A-R-S. 5 of hearts. Is that the card you picked? Perfect. Now you did say the 5 of hearts, right? So let us just pick the 5th card. Is this your card?
Maybe, yeah.
Great. So thank you to both the volunteers. You may go back now. Thank you. Now something that may seem like magic maybe isn't truly so. This was not just magic, it was just maths helping me out along the way. Now speaking about maths, here's something that has a lot of maths that we don't really think about much. Maps. Now you may wonder why our current maps look so strange. For example, Antarctica looks just like a wide horizontal piece of land, and Greenland looks as big as Africa, but in reality, Africa is 14 times bigger. Now you may wonder, why does that happen? Well, the truth is that a map is a sort of projection of our globe, and no piece of paper can accurately become a perfect sphere, no matter how hard we try. So our most popular kind of map nowadays is called the Mercator projection. Now how do we make this sort of projection? Now you can imagine it in 2 ways. The first, wrap a piece of paper around the globe like a cylinder and just let this globe expand like a balloon until it touches all the sides of the cylinder. Unravel that and ta-da, a map. Alternatively, you can think of it as having a laser pointing from the center of the earth and then just passing through. So when it hits both the globe and the cylinder, those are matching points on the globe and the map. So yeah, that's pretty interesting about how we can make projections. But again, this isn't a perfect projection, there will always be some mistakes. There are plenty of maps nowadays, one that looks like an orange peel or even a butterfly. But none of these can accurately ever represent our globe. Because again, like I said, a piece of paper can never form a perfect sphere. Now talking about the Earth, here's a fun fact. At any given point of time, there are 2 such points that are on opposite points of the planet that have the exact same temperature. Now how can we prove this? First, let's make an assumption. Say that I'm traveling from Mumbai, India, which is around 30 degrees, a little hot for my liking, but anyways. And then we compare that to Antarctica, or specifically McMurdo Station, which is around negative 30 degrees. A little too cold, obviously. So now the assumption that we'll make is that when passing through these 2 points, we pass from every temperature from 30 to negative 30. That is 20 degrees, 10 degrees, 0 degrees, negative 10, negative 20. You get the idea. And I think this is a pretty reasonable assumption to make. Now, let's say that Mumbai is hotter than its opposite point of the globe, which is coincidentally Hangaroa in Chile. And that Antarctica is colder than its opposite point, which is Reykjavik in Iceland. Now, with the assumption that we made earlier, we know that since we pass through all the temperatures between these 2 points, in the middle somewhere, there is such a point that the 2 opposite places on Earth have the exact same temperature. Not too tricky, right? Yet, we just walked through the Burnham-Ulam theorem, which is a very important concept in geometry. I think that a key to getting this across was getting rid of the terminology or the tricky words like Euclidean space or continuous functions. Let it serve as proof that without its overbearing notation, mathematics is just a web of really beautiful ideas. Now in this talk, so far, I've talked about meteorology, maps, and magic. What do these examples tell us? I think that they show the universality of maths and its ability to weave itself into the fabric of our lives, connecting seemingly unrelated phenomena together. Mathematics isn't just a subject that we learn in school. It is a tool that artists, scientists, and architects use, a source of wonder that magicians exploit, and above all, it is the language that nature speaks, a language that spellbinds those brave enough to learn it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. On to the next speaker, Arav Ranka.
with my TED Talk, I'd like to present a short clip. Now, I'm confident that most of you would have guessed this clip to be from a movie or an advertisement. Sorry, that's not the case. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a tale of pixels, polygons, and a revolution that doesn't need a battlefield. It needs a computer screen. Yes, today we are diving headfirst into the 3D wonderland powered by Blender. And trust me, it's more thrilling than a roller coaster in the digital world. Now, let me set the stage. Imagine a world where generals aren't leading the charge. Rather, artists, hobbyists, and designers are the unsung heroes of the digital uprising. Yes, that's the world of Blender, a free and open source 3D modeling software that's not just a tool, it's a movement. Blender was born out of the belief that everyone should have access to high-quality 3D modeling tools. Blender was created with the idea that you shouldn't have to pay thousands of dollars on a software license to express your creativity in 3D. Blender isn't just about creating jaw-dropping 3D graphics for movies or video games. It's a philosophy that says creativity knows no price tag. You shouldn't have to mortgage your house in order to express your creativity in 3D. Blender believes in democratizing the art of 3D modeling, and it's doing it with style. Picture this, a small town in India where a young Indian girl dreams of animated movies but faces a financial brick wall. Enter Blender, the hero of our story. With Blender, she becomes the maestro of an animated symphony. Fast forward, and she's now weaving magic as a professional animator. All thanks to Blender, the gateway of dreams. But wait, it's not over. Jump over to Brazil, where an indie game developer is sitting on a genius idea, but not on a massive budget. What does he do? He embraces Blender. With Blender, he becomes a one-person 3D powerhouse and turns his game into a blockbuster. Yes, Blender didn't just help him create a game, it helped him create a career. Now these aren't just stories, these are sagas of Blender changing lives, and it's empowering individuals to do and flip the 3D modeling industry on its well-rendered head. So the next time you're marveling at the mesmerizing animation in a movie or lost in a video game world, take a moment, appreciate the 3D magic, and remember, Blender, the unsung hero, is all making it possible. Now, I'd like to share a personal anecdote. I too was once a stranger to Blender. Yes, I was navigating the 3D world, trying to get into an exclusive club, but at a hefty entry fee. Then, one day, I stumbled upon this magical software, and this digital chameleon adapted to my creative whims. I started tinkering, creating, and before I knew it, I was hooked. Blender became my canvas, and I the artist of my digital dreams. Blender helped me sculpt landscapes, brought characters to life, and I watched as my imagination took flight in 3 glorious dimensions. And here's the thing, I'm not alone in this journey. Blender has helped countless individuals by becoming their artistic companion and express their creativity in a digital world. Now imagine a world where every aspiring artist, regardless of their financial standing or background, can express their creativity in 3D. Imagine a world where your creativity is boundless and the only limit is your imagination. Imagine Blender being an influential impact in schools and have a crucial impact on education. Yes, that's what Blender can do. Imagine classrooms all around the world where students can learn creativity, can express creativity and learn practical in-demand skills. Yes, with technology reshaping the job market, learning 3D modeling isn't just a hobby, it's a valuable skill. We are now at the precipice of a 3D revolution. Yes, Blender is the precipice of a 3D revolution, and we shouldn't just be a part of it. Let's use Blender, break down the barriers, and create our own animated symphonies. Who knows what masterpieces we'll create? With Blender, the possibilities are as infinite as the pixels on your computer screen. Now, imagine a world where Blender isn't only related to professionalism. Imagine a world where Blender can be just more than professionalism. It can be linked as an integral part of our society. Blender can be the next future. Picture this scenario when the next generation grows up. Be a digital creator, not a digital imitator. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Moving on, Shriyan.
Mental health is not a destination, but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you're going. This quote by Noam Spencer, who has a PhD in psychology, perfectly represents the population who face the ups and downs of mental health. While mental health is often seen in a negative light, it can have its positives too. For instance, it can help you grow and discover yourself. It can help you get to know yourself and your surroundings better. And it can help you know who sticks with you at your darkest times. This image, for instance, depicts how the right people for you can be willing to hold your hand and help you. Now, the World Health Organization statistics show that in 2019, around 1 in every 8 people suffered from a mental disorder. And while it's not easy to diagnose these disorders, it does not change the fact that they are present. They can be present and they can affect you to various lengths. You might feel anger, irritation, sorrow, and many other emotions depending on your situation. For me, I have gone through and I'm still going through that phase. I face irritability, anger, and fatigue despite not draining myself physically but mentally. An unstable mental health can lead to mood swings. It can make you lose interest in daily life activities and maybe, eventually, even make you lose hope in life altogether. These are a couple of symptoms I have mentioned, which may be true to various disorders, be it a major depressive disorder or even a generalized anxiety disorder. But it is okay to feel this way. It's okay to not feel your best, and it's okay to feel mentally drained. Going back to the quote I started with, it's a process, not a destination. You will get better and you will power through over time. You just need to find your purpose. To find your purpose, you can try regaining your self-interests, be it by taking a walk or listening to music or even playing a game with your loved ones. Whatever suits you. For me, I used to enjoy reading, but I've not read a book in over 3 months due to the wave of uninterest that has passed me. Still, at the end of the day, I feel the need to read a book or do anything that I enjoy doing. Life can offer you various sources of happiness. You just need to find what gives you your happiness. It may take time to venture, but eventually you need to do it for yourself and for the people you love. Sometimes, one feeling mentally drained can affect the people around them too.
That is why it's essential to be surrounded by the right people, be it supportive parents, best friends, or even a partner. Gratefully, I have all three. And it's okay to take help. You don't need to go through it all by yourself. Sometimes a little push can do wonders for you. Also, various coping mechanisms exist to help you as well. Coping mechanisms are defined as behaviors that aim to reduce stress and unpleasant emotions. In psychology, there are 4 main types of coping mechanisms, 2 of which are displayed on the board. Firstly, there's problem-focused, wherein an individual can use active coping methods to reduce stress. Then there's emotion-focused, wherein negative emotions are reframed into relatively more positive ones. Then there's meaning-focused, and lastly there's social coping, wherein an individual seeks social support to reduce stress. In addition to these, there are other coping mechanisms that people rely on, such as oversleeping and overeating, which may not necessarily be healthy for you. It is also okay to do these to a certain extent, but ultimately, if you want to get better, you might need to change your ways. It is also okay to go for therapy in cases like these. It is a common social stigma that therapy is for the weak-hearted, and sometimes you can even be ridiculed for going to therapy. Phrases such as, "you're going to a Dimag ka doctor," are used often. But therapy is meant to help you and support you, so there's no harm in going for it. Who knows, it will actually help you for the better. To conclude my talk, I'd like to state that mental health is a state of well-being, and there are various ways of reaching that state. You do not need to rush yourself into it, and you can take your time. Being in a state of not being okay can help you realize so much about yourself. It can make you rethink the way you think, act, and feel. However, when you're not feeling okay, it's also important to recognize that you have a purpose. You exist for a reason, and your heart beats for a reason. So, eventually, it will get better. While it's okay not to be okay, it's also okay to ask for help to eventually be okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya. Moving on, we have Samuel Rodriguez.
Hello. Okay. It's quite cold in here. Anyways, okay. So appreciating comics. Comics are one of my few loves. I'm single, but one of my few loves. And today I'm going to talk to you all about how to appreciate them too. Aunties, uncles, I know you guys grew up on comics like Archie, comics like Asterix and Obelix. You guys want to know what that is. Archie, Asterix and Obelix, Tintin for some of you, and of course, Tinkle itself. Anyways, so appreciating comics. What is a comic? Let's do the historical background behind comics. The word comic was first coined by the Godfather himself, Will Eisner. That guy there. Yeah. So he said, basically, why he called it a comic. Theater existed before comics. Comics existed before movies. Theater relied on visual up somewhere you don't want to be. You realize, where am I? What am I reading? And then you'll walk out of there and then you'll be like, I found my place. Me, a proud owner of 374 comics. Yeah, I might have a spending problem. But yeah, that's not my point. The point is I found where I want to be in comics. I found that superhero comics, and of course, humor was my main thing, and that's how you should find yours. Anyways, how does appreciating comics come into light? You need to appreciate comics by finding people who resonate with you. Finding people who share a similar life to you. People who read the same things as you. People who enjoy the same things as you. Appreciating comics is the same as any other passion. Any other passion, you need to find people to help you. Find people to guide you through what can be a treacherous world. Because if you run in there, you're likely not going to come back out. So, find people who resonate with you. For all the businessmen and businesswomen out there, you all know that networking is a very important thing in a business, because without it, clients and whatever else are very hard to find. I'm not a business student, I wouldn't know. But still, networking. So how do you network in comics? Like I said, you find people who resonate with you. It all depends on what you relate to. It can be superhero comics for all your superhero fans. It can be horror for all of you. And it can be romance for all of you. So, anyways, after that, it's always good to build a collection. Build a physical one, like mine. Waste 3 years on it. Don't waste 3 years, that's a joke. Just build the collection, because you can always go back and read it. You can always go back and look at your favorites. Build the collection. It can be online too. It doesn't have to be physical like that, because honestly in Bombay nobody has the space for that. It's crammed in the corner of my room, I know. Anyways, do that, and that's how you appreciate comics. Live a comic. Live the life of a comic. Live a happy life, live a good life, and live a life with beautiful visuals. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi. Oh God, I forgot my clicker. I'm so sorry. 1 second. Thank you. Now, other than this moment, 8th grade was the most feared time of my life. A statement an unfortunate amount of people can relate to. It was just bad. Everyone around me was developing all these complex relations, situationships and BFF Instagram accounts. To a 13-year-old Prisha, this seemed like the end of the world. Adolescence, a period of time characterized by the ever-changing emotional landscape. A time where self-doubt and confusion often reign supreme. It's a relentless quest for belonging and a search for identity. Not everyone fits in. For this journey through the labyrinth of teenage angst is an incredibly challenging one. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 7 teenagers experience some sort of mental disorder, depression and anxiety being the most common ones. For a 13-year-old, very angsty and angry little Prisha, somewhere buried in the rustic pages of the heaps of books that are in a library that my mother was a member of, was Rayana Ramirez Arellano, a character who also felt like she was missing out on boys and opportunities, found families and friendships and whatnot. Of course, she had the added pressure of Greek and Roman deities trying to destroy the world, but I had 8th grade trigonometry. So, the playing field is level. One of the most potent tools literature feels in helping teenagers cope with their inner turmoil is representation. Imagine cracking open a book and discovering a character who thinks like you, who feels like you, and in some cases looks like you do. It's like finding a mirror in a world completely different from your own. The world that is so distorted and unfamiliar finally has some comfort attached to it. And that's the true beauty of books, is it not? Whenever we read something We feel something. We find ourselves. Another thing that books have a lot in common with my grandmother is that books are like a grandmother's kitchen. They have a magical ability to heal wounds. They offer catharsis, a release of pent-up emotions. Through the pages of books, you can find yourself and your deepest, darkest emotions, maybe rage or yearning. You can experience them in a safe and controlled environment. Books offer a toolbox, rather a whole garage of coping mechanisms. When teenagers read and discover characters who have faced similar adversities as they have, we discover strategies for resilience. Maybe loss, identity crisis, bullying, or simply best friends. They can be incredibly complex sometimes. We realize that we're not alone in our struggles. We realize that there's so much more to do than the bad coping mechanisms, drinking, smoking. Instead, maybe we can just scream into a pillow. Although I didn't intend to make literature and reading sound like a home, a house, I can think of no better analogy, because books were truly my home for when I felt the most alone. Let us realize that every book is an opportunity to heal, to empathize, to connect. Let us invest in the stories that shape our future, one page and paper cut at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Prisha. Next up, Rahul Lal.
Hello everybody. Before I start, I'll take a quick poll. How many of you get stressed in life? Please raise your hands. I can't see you all, but I'm assuming there's many of you all. I asked this because I was expecting IBDP to raise their hands especially. But as well get stressed in life by what seem like endless tasks. But what if I told you that there's a very simple solution to this stress that most of us face almost every day? A very simple idea. The idea of doing nothing. This may seem counterintuitive, but often when we chase our deadlines, we are overwhelmed and can end up facing burnouts or breakdowns. But when we do nothing, our minds actually get a chance to relax and our body gets a chance to recharge. Doing nothing directly impacts your mental health. In fact, I want to share an interesting observation with you all about how paradoxical our lives are. When we get bored, we have countless entertainment sources at our fingertips. Movies, video games, social media. But do you know that while these sources kill your stress in the short term, they actually leave you more stressed than before in the long term? Yeah, that's right. But doing nothing is beyond just a moment to recharge. It's not just rest. In fact, a study by the University of Buffalo showed that individuals who did nothing in their free time were better able to express themselves creatively than others. Not just creativity, doing nothing can also enhance problem-solving skills, and it can reduce problems like anxiety and stress. This is because when our minds are free of our obligations and away from work, we actually get a chance to relax and our minds are open physics students. If you didn't get it already, yeah, you're right. I have someone. It's Newton. Newton's discovery of gravity was also born out of boredom for that fact. Because when we let our minds wander, there's infinite ideas that go through our minds. And who knows, you may end up making a discovery. So then, how do you do nothing? Doing nothing doesn't mean just sitting on your couch and watching television or playing video games. When you're doing nothing, you need to be present in the moment and not in your devices. When you do nothing, your brain should allow your thoughts and feelings to flow through it. And you should not just kill away your boredom, you should tolerate it. When you do nothing, it also helps you build meaningful relationships with people important to you. Because when you're present physically and mentally in your interactions with, let's say, your family, you can effectively communicate because there are no distractions, and you can build up a stronger relationship with them. To end my talk, I'll say that doing nothing is not just a waste of time. In fact, it's a catalyst for creativity and innovation. So the next time you get a free moment, maybe try doing nothing for a change. Thank you.
Well done, Rahul. Our next speaker is Shivanatya Pandit.
Well, let me start off by telling you all a story. Back when I was in the 8th grade, I was lucky enough to be part of our school's cricket team. All of us were really excited because this was going to be our big chance to become world famous in our school. We were supposed to play an inter-school tournament and were raring to go, having practiced tirelessly throughout the course of the year. On the eve of the match, I couldn't sleep a wink, and like many great players that came before me, I focused deeply on the 14,605 possibilities that could ensue during the match. Anyways, all of us gathered at the school the next day and were supposed to take a bus to the match. And by all of us, I mean just the 6 of us. Well, as you all may know, a cricket team usually consists of 11 players, but ours only had 6. You can barely play a game of Uno with 6 people. Forget playing a cricket match against a full-strength squad of 11. However, we then got to know that you need only 8 players to qualify as a team. And before you knew it, we had hopped onto the bus and were on our way to the ground with 6 players from our original team and 2 additional players who were none other than our classmates that lived close to school and had nothing to do with our team or cricket in general. The match started, and being put into bat, we mustered up a measly total of 120 runs, which was commendable considering that there were only 8 of us. But coming into bowl, we had no hopes whatsoever. However, when the opposition was around 60 for no loss, we got a lucky break in the form of a run out. And after that, there was no looking back. Every ball we bowled hit the wicket, and everything that we touched turned to gold. And in the blink of an eye, they were all out for 80. And yes, a team with 8 players had won a cricket match, with one of us taking 8 wickets in the process. Wonder who that looks like. What does this story teach us? Well, you may think it is about never losing hope, or that it is better to try than to cry. Well, I think it is about something different. It is about how we grossly underestimate the likelihood of events just because they seem improbable at first, or that we have never heard of them before. I for one thought that our one-of-a-kind feat
also won a match with 8 players. This got me pondering, are some things less far-fetched than they actually seem? Well, think about it. Who would have thought in the 1800s or the early 1900s that we would be able to send a man to the moon? Or perhaps that the US housing market, which seemed as solid as my batting, would collapse in 2008. Well, it turns out that there is actually a term in psychology called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which occurs when a person's level of knowledge and skills in a certain area can cause them to overestimate or conversely underestimate their own competence in that field, thereby affecting their confidence. This effect can be neatly summed up through a graph here. As you can see in the graph, when someone has a little bit of information or experience on a topic, they feel severely overconfident about it. But as they know more about it and get to know about the complexities, they are a little overawed and could underestimate their own capabilities. Until that is, when they become an expert and regain their confidence to their initial level. Probabilities in the real world are not easy to calculate, owing to the millions of possibilities, permutations, combinations, and outcomes that we need to consider. Therefore, our judgment on the likelihood of events could be greatly flawed by the information available to us, or more so, the lack of information available to us. To display this, I would like to call upon my friend Bob. Here's Bob. Bob is going about his day as usual when this happens. Oops. Well, you saw it right. That was a meteor that came crashing down from space onto Bob. Well, what are the chances of this happening? Any guesses? Okay. Well, the odds of this happening are 1 in 3,000, but they can range between 1 in 3,000 and 1 in 250,000, depending on your location on planet Earth. Now, let's look at Bob in his next life. Bob is in a plane enjoying his journey when this happens. Oops! Bob has succumbed to a plane crash. Rest in peace, my friend. Now, what are the odds of this happening? Any guesses? Okay. The odds of this happening are 1 in 11 million. Yes. So it is more likely that a cosmic rock from space could come crashing down on you than you actually dying in a plane crash. So the next time when you cross a road, be sure to look first right, then left, and maybe even up for good measure. Moreover, there is a thin line between impossible and almost possible. Well, if you think about it, it seems unlikely that apes will take over our planet. But it is not impossible now, is it? At least in the very long run, it isn't. Even Google backs me up here with every website that I visited using the term unlikely, with none using the term impossible. If we think more deeply about this, to let every situation that can ever take place in our universe to actually happen, we just need to give it an infinite amount of time. And in that infinite period, all of these situations will occur infinitely many times. In short, the greater the time, the greater the odds. All in all, even if something seems minutely possible or marginally realistic, it has a chance of occurring. Whether it be apes taking over our planet or a cricket team winning a match with 8 players. So, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best, because you never know when your once-in-a-lifetime event may occur. Thank you.
Well done, Shabaditya. Moving on, Kiara Kotak.
right about the outcome of this unpleasant situation. What I mean by this is how many of you have been instinctively able to predict the outcome of this unpleasant situation? If you have, we often refer to this as sixth sense or an intuition. The Oxford Dictionary defines our intuition as the ability to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. Now, this may bring to mind, where does our intuition come from? Any guesses? It can stem from a combination of past experiences or schemas as referred to in psychology. But I personally believe it can also stem from the thinking that takes place during an emotionally and mentally difficult time. Surprisingly, Antonio Damasio, a neuroscientist, proposed that various bodily cues like muscle tone, heart rate, and endocrine activity have evolved to help humans make snap judgments about how to move across the world, both physically and socially. Surprisingly, what we refer to as our intuition, or what we commonly call as a gut feeling, can actually stem from the pits of your stomach. Scientists refer to our gut as a second brain because it's a vast neural network of over 100 million neurons lining your entire digestive tract. That's more neurons than those present in the entire spinal cord, which only points to the gut's incredible processing abilities. This is also where the term gut feeling comes from, because there's quite literally a feeling in your gut that may be especially prevalent when you may need to make a decision or a judgment. Being an art student, I've always wondered how art curators make split-second decisions that could cost them millions of dollars. Imagine, during an art auction, having to choose between two incredibly valuable pieces of work, retailing at the same price. For example, Da Vinci's Mona Lisa and Vermeer's The Girl with the Pearl Earring. Both incredibly valuable and timeless masterpieces. How do you make an intuitive decision to decide which one is worth your money? When you make a decision based on intuition, your brain and gut come together to quickly evaluate all your past memories, prior experiences, needs, and preferences before selecting the best course of action given the circumstances. But too much thinking, on the other hand, what we commonly refer to and experience as overthinking, can actually hurt our mind. I came across this TEDx talk called Intuition is Your Superpower, the Green Light to Your Destiny, wherein the speaker, Cameo Gore, spoke about how an overload of external stimuli can lead to a blockage of your neurological pathways and systems. Yes, too much thinking, lots of thinking, lots and lots of thinking can help us create complex answers to the universe, like quantum mechanics. But it can feel frustrating and overwhelming if you're in a sticky situation. And of course, it can block you from your neurological indicators, like your intuition. Generally, overthinking is repetitive, unproductive thought. The main difference that segregates overthinking and thinking is that overthinking gets you nowhere. It's a loop, a never-ending one that demands you never find a solution. Here's an illustration I've made. The overthinking wheel. You just keep running in a loop. Now, this poor hamster has been on here forever and just can't seem to catch a break. It's just running. But you can. You can. Step off the spinning wheel. Stop overthinking. Trust your intuition. And trust that no matter what decision you make, whether it's right, wrong, successful, unsuccessful, it's all part of a learning experience. And there's always an opportunity for you to level up. We're constantly processing information, trying to create an important social status for ourselves, all while juggling all sorts of problems life throws at us. Don't you ever just want to slow it down? Take a break? Step off the spinning wheel? I know I do. Now, here's another illustration I made. The intuitive slide. Your intuition will guide you through anything and everything, much like a slide. I know it may seem difficult and daunting to climb the first few steps of this ladder, facing your problems, even acknowledging that you have a problem. But trust yourself, trust your intuition, and trust that it's going to be a fun ride. My TED Talk today is called Your Intuition is Your Enemy. But I'll tell you one thing, your intuition is not your enemy. Overthinking is. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiara, and thank you to all our speakers. It has been an incredibly enriching experience. We hope you have enjoyed listening to our talks as much as we have enjoyed writing them. Inviting the ever-enthusiastic Kartik Bhatia to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you for being such a patient and wonderful audience. I hope you enjoyed listening to me as much as we enjoyed giving them. Next, I want to express my gratitude towards every single one of the speakers here today. I know it's been an incredibly long journey with tech, and this is a very deserved culmination. So give yourselves a pat on the back, and well done, and thank you. A special thanks to Kian and Kiara for stepping up and preparing the entire event, and to Sam and Ranjit sir for handling our tech requirements. Now, reflecting on the beginnings of tech, there's two people that really deserve a huge round of applause. Miss Aarti and Miss Adele, for their continuous support and unwavering assistance. Moreover, the teachers who joined halfway, but were were not any less important. Miss Mimansa and Miss Gulabsha. Just have a round of applause for them. And of course, a huge thank you to Father Joy and Miss Meena for their support and their permission in this endeavor. A huge thank you to Odin sir and the administrative department as well for putting up with our every demand, be it the really good looking TEDx sign or the red dot carpet. And a special thank you to Adrian sir for capturing our tech moments here today. Lastly, I just want to thank DBIS as an institution for always fostering growth and always causing us to strive for excellence. Without it, we never would have initiated